Hey, hey, thanks, Amit. Okay, do you able to see my full screen of a small PPT? The first slide is introduction to DevOps. Can someone answer me in a chat? If you are not able to speak, that would also be helpful. Okay, nice. Someone, yes. Okay, thanks, Mazik. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so hey, thanks for the response. Right, Ajay? Okay. So now, this, I mean, the session is going in between 1 to 1 hour, 30 minutes of a session, which we will be talking about the DevOps of entire session. And in this session, what we'll be doing is we'll be talking of various aspects of DevOps. I'll just present you, what is the exactly agenda for this 1 to 1.5 hour session. Okay. Uh, First, what I'll do is I'll introduce myself and I'll give my the the experience, what I was doing, and what do I have, what I do, everything I'll be giving. And at the same time, I need some kind of information from you. The question is, of course, I know your name from the chat, and you don't need to specify your name. The first one I required is, do you know already about the DevOps? The second one is, do you have experience with the Linux or not? And what kind of things that you are looking from this session? These are the three questions. I mean, another fourth one. If you are already working as a what, for example, if you are working as a developer or ops team or network DB or something, I just need what you would be doing it out. Okay, you can just if you are able to talk, I'm fine. Otherwise, you can also ping in a chat. So why I'm asking this question is that will give me understanding of what kind of a background that you are coming. So based on that, I'll present my content, like, in which way that you can understand. If you are really been expertise, or I mean, some kind of a good experience person, so I can start, I can leave the unknown parts and then start some other things. That's why I want a small information from you guys. Okay, let me start about myself. Okay. So in this session, right, what we are talking about is DevOps, which is mainly the aim goal of DevOps is it should be simplifying your software development deployment process along with your release management. That is the main goal of a DevOps. Okay. Uh, okay, that is what we are going to talk about today. And let me start with myself. Yeah, I'm Narendra, and I work as a software engineer. I mean, IT industry for the last almost 10 years of an experience in IT industry. And I used to be a freelancer, now a technical trainer, and I do have almost a 5+ years as a technical trainer. I have trained almost 50+ students in DevOps, especially those are freshers and experienced persons. I help them to move from one sector, not like sector, I could say, one role to another role, especially into the DevOps part. And I worked almost, I worked in MNCs and startups. My career started with the startup company. That is where I got a good exposure to the technology and a lot of things. And there I used to work as I do have a different designation roles like a DevOps person, DevSecOps person, and SRE. So these are the some of the roles that I have played in the entire 10 years in startups and MNCs. And my main roles would be, the major working areas I could work as, especially the provisioning and maintaining the infrastructure, release management, building and automation tools for automating some of the manual tasks to the developers. And sometimes, I'll be the member of the interview panel where I'll be deciding, second level of interview, I'll be taking it out. Okay. And especially if you are asking me the tasks which I do, I mean, the skills which I work on regular basis is majorly GitHub or Bitbucket, Jenkins for the CI/CD, Ansible for configuration management, Terraform for provisioning and infrastructure, and especially in AWS and OCI. And when it comes to the Kubernetes, container technologies, Docker, Kubernetes, SonarQube, these are the some of the security scanning tools which I do work. And when it comes to the cloud environment, I do have a good experience with the AWS and OCI. OCI is a Oracle Cloud Enterprise. These are the some of the things which I do on regular work basis. Okay. Okay. Now it's your turn. So what I need is, do you know about the DevOps? If no, no. I mean, you can comment out no. And the second one is, do you have already an experience with any of DevOps tools like Linux or any of the tools? And third one is, um, uh, what you do if you're a freelancer or IT developer, DBA, network administrator, anything is fine. I just need a 1 or 2 lines of information from you, which I want, like, understand what is your background. That's enough. You don't need to follow all these questions also. I need to understand your background. Okay, you can start talking, or you can ping me in a chat. That would help me. Yeah, I can start, guys. Hey, come on, guys. The session that we are going to conduct will be, both the ways we have to talk. Okay, if you are not able to talk, right? To be frank, you can't get a job. Simple. I mean, I don't know if someone is a fresher, right? Okay, no experience. Yes, do you know some of the tools required? Explore the DevOps boards. You are an architect. Can I know, Sony, what kind of architect is you are a software architect, is it?
So basically, I deal with the analytical platforms like the data science platform, analytics platform, Burst Info, Power BI, and everything. And then on our development side, stories and all, we are planning to migrate everything to DevOps now. So I really wanted to explore the boards and all. Yep.
Okay. Sure. One question. What is meant by boards? I mean, can I get back boards, like what kind
Okay,
of a
so
tools? How to use?
it's basically, in simple words, I'm not more technical to that area, but I
Okay.
can say that earlier we were using the Jira,
Okay.
to track everything, to track all the stories and the work that we do. But I'm
Okay.
not sure how you name it in the DevOps side. So it can be board, it can be something else. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm just wanted to similar type of things we can do with the DevOps as well. So we are just we plan to migrate, or so add all the products and everything to DevOps. So we really want to explore it, and we want to learn whatever we can as
Understood.
soon as possible. So yeah.
Understood. Thank you. So in DevOps, right, I'll tell you in equal terms in DevOps science, the data science. So here we'll call, the terminology of the DevOps, especially you are looking about the boards, right? Here we'll call it as a tools. We need to know about a different tools which we do use in DevOps. And at the same time, some of the terminologies like CI/CD, automation, release management. These are the some of the equivalent terms what you are looking at when the boards, which I understand based on your points. Yeah, but we'll go deep dive on
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. Next, already familiar with the DevOps terms and operations, but not much about the operations, only the basics. Yes. Familiar with the Linux. Okay, nice. About to understand some of the operations with the DevOps and DevSecOps. Okay, I think this especially this session is entirely covers DevOps only. There will be a separate session for the DevSecOps also. The content will be more or similar, but only the security tools will be coming to picture when it comes to the DevSecOps. Magic, I hope you got response. This especially for the DevOps part of it. Okay, DevSecOps, the difference main is security main tools will be coming to picture when we are talking of the DevSecOps. This is one note. Okay. Okay, I think I got hardly 1 or 2 to 3 response. I hope that's enough, maybe. Okay, let's get started. Sandeep, anyone before starting, anyone to join? Should we wait?
You can start.
Okay, right. Perfect. Thank you. uh, okay, guys. Let's start. Let's talk about what we are going to discuss today. Okay, so we'll talk about the history of DevOps, how it comes in picture into as a solution to the IT industry, and what are the different tools is available was been before the DevOps, how a DevOps has been formed. Then we'll talk about different terminologies like CI/CD, continuous communication, agile automation, continuous automation. CI/CD means continuous integration and deployment. Okay, development also we do tool, and what kind of a tools that we do uh, use in a DevOps, and what are the job opportunities for the DevOps, and what you do. I mean, what you will be getting from out of this course. So how our course will be aligned and how it is going to be presented. That is what we'll be discussing in between 1 to 1.5 hour session. Okay, let's get started without any delay. Okay, what I want to see, my secret of learning of any of the thing is, first I'll try to understand, what is the main. I mean, for example, my I could say my sentence is, if there is a problem, there will be a solution definitely. Okay. And if there is a solution, definitely there is a problem before that. This is what I believe. Meaning, I'll put it in simple way. For example, I'll try to understand DevOps is a kind of a solution. Okay. It's not a tool, I could say. It's a procedure, a pattern, I could say. And since we have this DevOps solution, what is a problem? Why it came as a solution? Why the DevOps become as a solution? Now I'm trying to understand what is a problem and where this solution works. This is how I'll be learning. I mean, this is what I do follow learning before learning any of the things. Let's say if I want to understand a data science or a security, what I do is, first I'll understand what problem it is trying to solve. Then we'll start learning. So we'll have a good, a big picture why it is coming to picture. Okay. Now let's understand the problem statement. Okay. There is a conversation is happening between a development manager and an operation. I mean, development teams and operation, which you said dev manager and operation manager. Right? Sometimes dev managers, developers has been build their application, and then they will transfer to the operations team and ask them to deploy it. And then that's how they will be simply saying that. Okay, this is what I'm talking before this. Okay, before the DevOps into coming to picture. Okay, now what will happen is operations team doesn't know what to do with that build. Hey, anyone? Any questions, guys? Okay, if you guys have any questions, you can raise a hand. Otherwise, you can ping me in a chat. That would be helpful. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so now what development team will send out a build, which can be a tar or zip file to the operations team. Operations team have some of the does not have a information. They have some information. For example, they have a questions like, okay, where do we need to install and which system? Is it a dev environment or QA environment or a prod or pre-prod, or which environment do I need to install? Okay, do they require any dependencies before installing our software? No, they don't know. What kind of a DB? What is the credentials of the DB? Okay, what are the securities they needed? And what kind of exercise or what kind of a pre-validation, post-validation they need to do? These kind of all questions they'll have by the operations team. Okay, so this is the way the operations team has raised a concern saying that we require some of the information which the devs are not provided. Okay, so finally the work has been stopped. Okay, now that is how the problem, or that is how the first rising point is happened between the dev one managers, I mean dev one operations teams. Okay, so now they'll start, for example, take an example, they on a Friday or Thursday, the development has completed of an application, and the dev team has been shared the build to the operations team, and operations team has received the build at the Friday, and Friday they have a lot of questions, and if they want to ask, since it is a Friday or Saturday, the developers are not available since it's a weekend. Now Monday has come into picture, and they started arguing like, okay, they started putting questions like, you know, okay, why the deployment is happened on not on Friday. So they started conversation, and they'll have a, I could say war room kind of thing, or they'll have a kind of a meeting, what is the reasons why it was not deployed. So the conversation will go like, okay, operations teams really, they are lacking some of the knowledge, and they don't know what to do with this. They just need to, at least they should have some understanding. Development team will give this kind of communications with them. Okay, I mean this kind of conversation will be happening, and at the same time operations team won't be silent, right? They will also start giving answers to them. There is a, this is a funny conversation which happens regularly, I could say, but this is how, if you read this slide, you'll understand. Hey guys, I request, if you are talking, can you be mute yourself? That would be really helpful. Abhinay. Okay. Okay, let's move this. Okay, so the conversation is like arguing between the development and some of the communication gap between the operations and DevOps teams. Okay, so now let's understand about who are the development team. I mean, which teams will be the part of, comes into the dev or development team or some other team. Okay, basically the main centric of the dev team is the developers, meaning who will write the code. They used to write the code in Java, Python, Golang, or Rust, or AngularJS, React, Node, and these, whoever write the code, right? They are the developers, and they basically build the features of an application, and they'll fix the bugs if they found anything. Now another team is called build team. There is a separate. Sometimes we'll call it as a release team also. Okay, what they are, what they do is they'll be working with some of the build management tools. So for example, SBT, Maven, and they will be writing some of the automation tools, Grant. So they'll use some of the automation tools like SBT, Maven, Grant. These are the tools they will be using, and they will build a software which received by the developers. Okay, now they'll start deploying the things into the servers. They'll be maintaining the application in a different environments. Okay, and now another team is testing team. Okay, testing team is responsible for writing a test cases, doing automation test cases. I mean, writing an automation test cases, doing a manual testing, and they'll maintaining a lot of things. They'll be using some of the tools called Selenium, QTP, HP testing tool, and they'll try to automate also. Okay, so far good, guys. Please let me know if you found any issues. Okay, so now we'll talk about the agile also. I mean, not now, when it comes. Now we understand who is being involved in the dev team also. What is the process between the dev team means? See, developers will raise, will they push their code, or copy their code into the source code management tool, in our case, a GitHub or Bitbucket. Okay, GitLab, anything, any of the our source code management tool. Once they have pushed the code, right, build team will take that, and they will build the software. I mean, build means it's nothing but a simple tar file or zip file or war file. It can be anything. I mean, not like anything, I could say. It's a compressed file which compresses or compilation code of your software. Okay, what they do is they'll take, and then they know how to deploy it which should work in a proper manner. Okay, if the build is success, it will pass on to the testing team, okay, to test the entire application is status. If the build is failed, again build team will report to the developers, hey, while I building, I got this compilation error or some kind of an errors, please fix this. And if they found any glitch or bug in this, developers will fix that, and again they will push the code into the source code management tool, and then they will be build it again. Okay, if it is success, testing team will report again to the developer saying that, okay, the application is healthy, so you can start deploying it to the no bugs at all, so you can move on. Okay, this is the process team. Guys, one note is, if you don't understand the terminology, you can put in a chat. We will talk about in a minute. And also one more request is, these are all the terminologies we do use, but you will get to know once we started the actual process. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, now we understand about the dev team, who will involve, what is the process in it. Now what we'll understand is what are the operations teams and who will be doing it. The operations team will be diversified with the different skill sets, like a system team, networking team, VM storage, provisioning team, we could say. What they do is, for example, if you join any company, right, they will arrange you a laptop. Okay, there is a separate IT department for you. What they do is they'll provision a laptop for you, and even once you onboarded, if you want any virtual server, if you want any compute resources, once you raise the request, right, they'll start fulfilling your requirement via Jira ticket or any service request at all. And the resources you can be a virtual server, network provisioning, and some of the network uh, diagram that you want. I mean, any of the network related or security related, if you want any of the resources, right, they'll be fulfilling your requirement. And for that, they have they'll maintain some of the playbooks with them. This playbooks will come into with the IT operations team as well as a SRE team. Playbook is nothing but a uh, a kind of an instructions. For example, you faced an issue, you could say, if you want to if you want a simple terms, it's like a manual. Okay, for example, if your device has been failed, first what you do, you go to the manual and then try to understand where this has been mentioned if you face some kind of an issue. Similarly, they have some kind of a playbooks. The playbooks will have a set of instructions which will especially relate to a specific problem. Okay, this will be maintained by the operations team as well as a SRE team. Of course, and a DevOps also will maintain. This is called a playbooks. We'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay, now if you see some of the basic differences between the development and operations, right, the development will be focusing on a successful build. Okay, successful build means if they developed any feature and if they compile it, the build has to be successfully completed. That is the focus of the development team. But whereas operations team will be focusing on the stable build. Stable build means once you deployed the application, sometimes it will be stopped suddenly, stopped working suddenly, and it will have bugs in it. It will be overutilized or memory out of exception. Because of a lot of reasons, it will be the application will start throwing an errors and stop working. So this they don't want. This is the main focus. They will be operations team will be focusing when they receive any build. But whereas a build, successful build will be the focus area for the development team. Okay, they keep on changing the build. The development team will keep on changing the build on every time if they change anything. These operations team will be very oftenly they will change the build. Oftenly means, of course, whenever the requirement comes, definitely they will be deploying it. But in case of a development team, what they do is, if they done any changes in a source code, they'll create a new build. and they want to test it. And if that will be very headache for the operations team for every even small change. That's why developers team required a separate dev environment come into picture. Okay, we'll talk about the little bit about the different environments also. Okay, now development team will be talking about they will be following some kind of SDLC process, which is a agile. They'll be agile is kind of a SDLC process like a waterfall model, and whereas operations team will be following a ITIL process. These are the development process while developing any software. Uh, Guys, so please remember agile, because if you join as a DevOps engineer, you have to follow the agile, because I could say what I mean to say is it's need not necessary to follow agile model, but you have adopted the DevOps because you want to rapid development and rapid delivery and rapid deployment. Okay. If you want to be rapid, you have to follow the rapid tools. I mean, for example, this is a joke I could say. For example, you want to go with the 100 kilometers per hour. If you are taking a normal petrol, you will get a less speed. I mean, not like less speed, but it might not be the 100 kmph. But if you take the power petrol kind of thing, you'd be very fast, right? In a similar fashion, you can take you need to adopt if you want to be rapid development and deployment. Okay, so that's why you need to adopt the agile. Okay, now let's talk about these are the some of the main focus areas between the development and operations. Okay, I think okay. Okay, we'll talk about this. Okay, now what is happening is, because of this, the entire team, not like it's a team, the management or the management team or the owners of the company, right? They started understanding they ultimately they are the loss of the profits, right? If, for example, if you are taking a 2 years of time to develop a software, and within 2 years of time, based on agreement that you have given to a client, if it is crossing beyond 2 years, who will be the paying the extra amount? I mean, as a software as a software company, there will be an agreements. If you can't able to deliver a particular software to a client, again they can sue you or they can charge you extra amount for you. Even client will charge you to a software company. So that's why the software company have a very strict things when it comes to the deliverable to the clients. Okay, so they don't want to take any chances of it all. So this, you know what they suggested a solution is, the entire first of all, this problem has been identified by the some of the researchers, meaning in early days of a software, not like early days in 90s or 80s, I think 1990s, or in between 2010 to 1990, I guess. So the researchers, the persons who has done the PhDs, right? They started identifying the problem, why the software development and delivery is taking too much of time. They started understanding what is happening between the dev and ops team, and they identified, okay, this is the gap, this is the place where the time consuming processes happen. The researchers found a solution saying that, okay, the development team has also understand about the what operations teams are doing. At the same time, operations team also understand about what the devs are doing. Okay, at least they need to understand something. They need to cross functional should be happen between the development and operations team. Okay, this is what they found a solution, and they suggested a separate team called the DevOps team, which includes the some of the developers and some of the operations. Not like that. For example, I'm a developer. What they do is, they'll give a training on me what operations are doing. I mean, what operations team is doing. For example, if you are operations team, they'll give you training on what the development teams are doing it. They don't give a how to write a code training. Okay, they'll give you what is the basic need required. Since you are an ops team, what you need to know is how they will be building it. what is the effort they are doing it, what kind of a pain point they are doing, I mean they are facing while developing it. Okay, what kind of a tools where you can automate it. These kind of an understanding that you need to find as an ops person from a development point of view. At the same time, for me, since I'm a developer, I have to understand saying that okay, what are the pain points of an operations teams are doing, and how can I eliminate the effort for the operations team while I'm developing it. Like, I need to write a bug free, mostly, I mean, of course no one able to write a bug free code in a single shot, as much as possible. How can I give a clear instructions while deploying it, and especially what kind of an instructions if they face an issues, kind of an exceptions. So these are the some of the terms which are perspective which I need to understand from a developer's perspective about a operations team. Okay, so this is how they take a couple of people from a development and operation. They started giving a combined training for the both the team, and they formed a team called the DevOps team. That is the that is the main how the DevOps team has passed. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Of course there is a last of Q&A, but so far is clear. You can mention in the chat whether it is a clear or any questions. You can post me in a chat, or you can talk. No issues at all. Until you give a command, we'll go to the next slide once you have given a reply. Any questions so far, guys? Is it clear? I need some response, guys, please, in a chat. Come on, guys. No one has replied yet. Okay, anyone? Anyone? No one is responding. Okay, okay. Thanks, Mazik and Anand. Okay, let's move forward. Thank you for guys. Okay, now this is one of the. I mean, I hope you understand how a DevOps has been raised, how it is formed as a solution to a problem. Now we'll understand some of the basic definition. Okay, even if someone asks you in a interview questions, like you can give this answer. Okay, it's a basically DevOps is a process or a procedure or a pattern between the development and operations team in order to reach the business goals quickly by doing a continuous integration, continuous development, continuous deployment, and continuous communication. Meaning, what does it mean is, as a DevOps person, you have to, reach the business goals. What are the business goals? The rapid development and rapid software delivery. This is the main goal of a software if they want to deploy or hand over to the client or a deliverable to a customer. Okay, you have to rapidly develop and deploy the software by following or by doing a continuous integration. What does it mean is, I'll talk about what is a continuous integration, continuous development, continuous development, continuous deployment, and continuous communication. So basically, a DevOps is a process which will be between the development and operations team by following, by doing a continuous integration, continuous development, and continuous deployment. This is where you'll talk about a CI/CD, continuous communication, as in the short terms. Okay, this you can give as a definition too. If someone is asked any question in an interview, what exactly the DevOps? Okay, and the main aspect or the main crack of this is, if you are a developer, you have to think about operations perspective. If you are on operations team, you have to think about what are the pain. You have to think in a perspective of a developer side also. Okay, and at the same time, you have to follow the agile methodology. Agile methodology is also as a process which you have to follow while developing the software. We'll talk about what is an agile methodology also. If you are following this, the output of this entire effort is the quality. The deliverables will be very easy, very rapid. That is the main output of a DevOps team. Okay, now let's talk about Agile, right? Agile is nothing but it is one of the SDLC process where this is also one of the interview questions. Even if you find any of the JD of a DevOps or DevSecOps or SRE, they'll ask us starting a question, work experience with work experience in agile team. Okay, meaning agile is one of the methodology or a process while following or while developing a software. They'll be having something called a sprints. For example, sprint is nothing but a particular time frame. For example, sprint one is a time of 1 to 3 weeks. Okay, meaning a sprint is equivalent to 3 weeks of a time. In the 3 weeks of time, you have to plan something, design something, build something, test it, and review it and launch it. Okay. For example, you want to develop a software. What you need to do is you need to follow all this. You don't focus on all the things at the same time. Okay. You will be doing a parts by parts. That part is nothing but a sprint. That part is having some time. It is between some teams will follow 2 weeks a sprint or 3 weeks a sprint. Okay, in the if you are taking a 3 weeks of a sprint, you have to complete all this. Meaning developers has to, I mean, software architect. Let's understand who have been a part of the agile framework. Product owner will be there, scrum master will be there, development lead will be there, software architect will be there, developers will be present, testers, business analysts, everyone will be present in a entire software development team. Okay, so these are the persons who will be the following, I mean, who will be the participating in the uh, agile, I mean, the agile model. They'll call it as a scrum call or stand up call. For example, in a 5 days of a work, you'll have some kind of a time window where you need to attend a call called scrum meeting or stand up call, where you need to talk about what kind of task you are getting, and are you facing any issues, what is the status of your task. Okay, you have to explain your what you are working on, what you are going to work, and is there any blocker, is there any dependencies. You need to talk all about this. Scrum master is the responsible for maintaining all these sprints, sprint meetings, sprint planning, sprint retrospective meetings. We'll talk a lot about, and while following, I mean, while learning about our course, all this, just think like scrum meeting, I mean, Scrum meeting is also normal, like a normal meeting, but everyone will be present. You have to give an update on what you are working on. Like that, every team and every team member will be give a status of their current tasks. Okay, and these are the members who will be following. And this is how the sprints has been divided. Sometimes, definitely, trust me, guys. If you are attending an interviews and if you see a job description saying that work experience in agile mode, they'll definitely ask about what is agile mode, how your team works, how your do you participate with the diversified team or only internal teams, and do you have any multi-time zone experience, or do you have do you know what is a sprint planning? No, of course they don't ask a sprint planning. At least they'll ask you, they'll expect you to know about some of the agile terminologies like a sprint, a planning, of all this. But trust me, guys, this is a one of the area where interviewer can also ask a question. Okay, now let's talk about how the agile works for the different teams. For example, business teams, developers teams, and IT operations team. Okay, as a developers, in a if they allocated a 3 weeks of a one sprint, they need to complete all these phases. For example, a three in a 3 weeks of time, if you committed, I'll be developing a two features as a developers. In for the two features, you have to design, I mean, develop, I mean, team lead will be designing or software architect will be designing what features they need to implement it. They'll given instructions, and as a developer, you have to write a code, you have to refactor it if you found if there are any glitches or bugs, and you have to write unit test cases, and you have to fix the bugs if you find, and you have to deploy. All these phases you have to be completed in a 3 weeks of a time for two features. Since you have committed, I'm going to complete the two features in it. Okay. as an IT operations team, they'll be following all these like provisioning, configuration, orchestrate, deploy, report, and everything. Remember, guys, these are the some of the keywords. If you open any of the DevOps position, right, you find definitely of these keywords. Provisioning, meaning creating an infrastructure, configuration, configuring some of the servers or applications, orchestrator. See, if you orchestrate means how you are handling a different resources. Resources can be a database server or application server, a container, or anything, any of the resources. How do you orchestrate of entire things? And how do you maintain the deployment, and how do you find a report based on which is nothing but a health status of your environment. Okay, and finally how you are going to monitor. So these are all you have to complete in a 3 weeks of a time based on how much task that you are going to complete it. Okay, now let's understand about how the DevOps was been there, how has been impacting in different areas. Different areas means in SDLC there are some phases, right? First you will understand what are the different phases. For example, design, development, testing, build, design, analysis, design, development, testing, build, testing. After testing, again you have to monitor and security scanning. These are the some of the phases in a SDLC process. Now, if you talk about before before DevOps into coming to picture, right? They would be following a development process also. They would be adopting a waterfall model. Okay, this is one of the SDLC. The application architecture will be monolithic. Monolithic meaning database server, business logic server, business logic server, front and back, and everything will be deployed at a single instance or a single place, I could say. That is called a monolithic architecture of application. And they would be deploying all their applications in a physical server. There will be a lot of physical servers, like you have a desktop, right? You have a laptop, right? Similarly, earlier days, not like earlier, nowadays also they have a uh, fatter missions which will have a 64 GB of RAM and 24 CPUs, 5 TB of hard disk, like a small kind of a data center. So they'll be deploying it, or their application infrastructure, everything will be deployed at the data centers. These are the some of the things they would be following before DevOps into coming picture. Once you adopted, or once it has been transformed into the DevOps, right, these all phases are changed like this. Okay, the development has been process has been transformed from waterfall to agile model by following the DevOps terminologies like a continuous integration, continuous communication. The application architecture has been changed from monolithic to entire architecture or three-tier, or any, distributed manner, which is by following the microservices pattern, which is one of the development pattern. And the deployment and packaging has been changed from deploying from a physical server to the virtual servers by creating a containers by using a technology called container technologies. Those are Docker, virtual boxes, some of the libc, I guess, I think LXC. These are main library of a Docker. And the application infrastructure has been also formed from, transformed from data center to the cloud. So once you adopted this DevOps, right, the entire phases of a development and operation has been transformed, these many phases. Okay, in each and every phase. Okay, now let's talk about guys, any questions so far? Please let me know if you have any question. Of course, we have a session, we have a time for Q&A also. Okay, so far no questions. Let's continue. And for example, now you understand what is a DevOps. What is the problem of a DevOps coming to picture, and what is the solutions for that problem. And now you understand what are the terminologies has been came. Now you decide how you want to adopt a DevOps into your team, or you want to learn something. Okay, so you have to follow these steps. You have to follow off these things. These are like DevOps culture you have to adopt. You have to follow the DevOps process. And to follow those process, you have to use some of the tools called DevOps tools. These DevOps tools will be coming into picture of a different character, different categorized. We'll talk about in a moment. Now let's understand what is a DevOps culture. For example, as one of our attendee told, they are into the DevOps, I mean software architecture. Now you want to adopt into this. You have to think like, you have to you have to think like everything you have to try to automate it with the help of a DevOps team. If you have some of the tasks, you need to automate it. No manual deployment should be happen. So you have to think it that way. Okay. If and again, you have to try to utilize existing resources from a different teams, especially from the development team and operations team. Okay. Now you have to follow some of the process related, the continuous integration, the deployment, delivery, and monitoring. We'll talk a little bit about those, what is the CI/CD, deployment, delivery, monitoring in the next slides. Just allow me a few more minutes because that is we have to talk very clearly. That's why I want to talk, take a time and then talk about it. Okay. Now let's understand, this is the focus. If you go to any of the institute or any of the online source, online YouTube or some of the courses, they'll be talking more about these tools. Now whatever we talk, this was like before these things. Okay, now let's talk about these tools. There is if you want to adopt a DevOps, you have to adopt a DevOps culture. What is a DevOps culture? It should be a continuous automation and a continuous communication. That is nothing but a DevOps process. And if you want to follow that process, you have to use some of the tools. Okay, what are those tools? Yes, these are some of the source code management tools which will be responsible for maintaining your source code. Okay, for example, Git or GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab. These are the now popular 3 source code management tools. Whatever you hear, right? Mercurial, Subversion, P4. These are some of the world version or world source code management tools. Okay, now let's talk about the build tools. When it comes to build tools, is nothing but a which will help for you while building a software. Software is not a single program or single file. It is a bunch of files and communicating with the different components, right? If you want to club together, you require some kind of a build tools. That tools is nothing but SBN, SBT, Maven, Grant. There are a lot of tools, build tools as available. Okay, now next talk about the continuous integration tools. Jenkins, TeamCity, GitLab, Traverse CI/CD, Bitbucket Pipeline, some of the CI/CD, CI tools. What does it mean is, let's say, what is happening is, we'll talk a little bit about what this again. Just bear with me, okay? Next one is the configuration management tools, which are Ansible, Puppet, Chef, SaltStack. Nowadays, a lot of other things has also come into picture. Now, everyone is using Ansible. Some of the teams are using legacy teams since they have adapted like Chef or Puppet, they're also still using. But now the popular as a part of curriculum, we are going to learn about Ansible. And when it's to deployment, we will be using a Puppet also will come into configuration management tool as a part of a deployment also. Okay, we'll be using a Docker or a Vagrant for deploying or containerizing an application. And some of the monitoring tools will be using a Nagios or Jabix. These are some of the old tools. As a part of as a part of our course, I've already shared a entire course curriculum or course content with you guys. You can follow what we are going to learn. We'll
Hello.
talk about that also. Okay,
Hello.
simply, yeah.
Hello.
Anyone talking?
Yeah. Hi, this is Santosh.
Yeah, hi.
I have some doubt because I joined just now because I did not saw the meeting link due to some work.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask what is the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps? Means only just security features that you have to learn. Am I right?
No, yeah, of course, as a learning, you have to learn about the security, but the main important part you need to understand is there will be a pipeline, right, of a DevOps.
Yeah.
where you will be writing for example, take a Jenkins pipeline, and what you do is you will be writing a different steps or phases for you, right? Compiling, cloning it, building it, and then deploying it, right? In between of these phases, you have to integrate some of the security scanning tools, which will scan your code in terms of a static, a dynamic, and network scanning. These are all tools. I mean, these are all phases you will be including in the your as a part of your DevOps pipeline. For this, you need to write a some of the, for example, for the continuous integration, you have written a pipeline using a Jenkins. For continuous security, you have to adopt some of other tools. You have to automate those scanning also. Okay, that we will be learning it out. Two things: learning about the different security tools. Second one is how do we integrate in our existing dev pipelines in order to make the security or flawless or vulnerable less.
Okay.
That is the main.
And one more thing, like how is the scope in compared to DevOps to DevSecOps present in the future career like that?
Yeah, we'll definitely talk, Santosh, at the end of the session, since we have a Q&A, if you don't mind.
Yeah, because I don't know what is the course structure. Just now I joined.
Right. Sandeep or we'll be help you. Please stay at the end of the session. We'll talk in detail. Okay?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah, sorry.
No problem. Okay, guys,
Thank
let's continue. Okay, thank you. Now we are talking about what are the different tools has been available. Simply, they'll also, and a shortcut, they if they want to adapt, they have to follow a simple keyword called CAMS, culture, automation, measurement, and sharing. This is what they're also following it. Okay. Now we understand how they are adapting. Now let's understand what is an automation part. If you see here, there are 13 phases in this circle. These 13 phases is been responsible for delivering a software to a client or a customer. Let's understand how many phases has been and what they do. See, this is where developers will be checking the code. And once they do, what they do is they maintain their source code in a version control system. In our case, GitHub or anything. And the build team will be deploying, compiling it and then do a respective static, respective scanning. For example, here, static code analysis, dynamic code analysis using a Sonar Cube, Nessus, and different security tools will be coming to picture here. And the testers will be running test cases, which developed by the testers, and they'll do a code coverage analysis, meaning code coverage means you have written 1,000 lines of code and they'll find out a reason what this 1,000, whether, for example, if you take 100 lines of a code or a function in a code, is this function is doing properly or not? The code coverage has been completely analyzed. Is there any extra code which is not responsible or lagging a system? They'll understand about it and then give you report out of it. Okay, and they will also analyze what the static code analysis, if they found any issues. For example, you have declared a variable which you did not use. Because of you declared and not used, your memory will be used. Of course it is a very less. Think about, you have defined 100 variables and not used, and you are running a software. It will be taking a lot of time. Okay, so it will be consume your memory or RAM, and it will ultimately make your application slowly running. Okay, that's why you have to understand if there is any code which has been causing slowness and everything. And finally, you have to deploy that build, and then finally, once you deployed, you have to test it, understand it, and then test it, understand the reports, and then give a report to the respective owners. For example, project manager, solution architect, scrum leader, scrum master, and everything. These all phases you have to. This was running manually. You have to automate. How do you automate? By following these tools. For example, if you see here, this is a CI, this is a CI/CD, and this is a automation. This is a everything is a DevOps pipeline. You would be using GitHub as of here, and sorry, you would using SBT this place, phase number 2. You would be using a Jenkins for the entire phase. I mean, from phase 1 to 13, you would be using a configuration management, for example, Ansible, especially here at the 9th phase, you would be using a Docker, especially, setup, not here in the deployment, I mean, environment, I could say. It could be a Docker, I mean, it could be a Dockerized, or it could be a standalone application, which you would be deploying in a cloud or physical server, that you would be using a continuous deployment, and you will be monitoring using a different tools. In our case, we'll be using a CloudWatch for some of the monitoring. Okay, so you have to automate all these phases by following this by adopting this DevOps, by following this culture, and by using these tools. Okay, any questions so far? Any confusion here? Okay, you can keep your questions if you have. You can post in a chat. We'll discuss about the end of the session. Okay. Now let's understand what is a continuous. Now we'll understand continuous automation. Now we'll take a look at the continuous communication. This continuous communication is being responsible, like, different aspects. Okay, like you should have some kind of a review meetings that you would be intimating via emails, Jira notification, Slack notification, and everything. Once, if Scrum Master has released the entire sprint goals, it has to be published to everyone, even operations team, DevOps team, business analysts, developers, every team member should receive what are the goals of a sprint, and they should also get an information about what is the meetings. How a Scrum meeting will happen, when to what time, and everything will be happening. And the Scrum Master will be giving a plan how we are going to deal with this sprint, and how many features we are going to target in the sprints. Everything will be communicated to entire team. This has to be implemented and everything maintained in a one tool. That's they will be using a agile board. There are some tools called agile board or a Scrum Master. The tool name itself is called a Scrum Master, where they'll maintain their Scrum meetings. Okay, in the sprint, what is the boundary of a sprint? For example, 3 weeks. How many tickets has been created? What is the stories they have been developed? And who has been assigned to particular story? What is the deadline of it? Is there any issues? Everything will be maintained in one of the tool called a Scrum tool. For example, let me show you about it. Okay. So for example, these are some of the Scrum. This you would be finding called, you would say, for example, if you see here, okay, yeah, here Kanban board, you could say. Even nowadays, Jira itself has a Kanban board. For example, how many to-dos in progress, in review, and how many has done. What is a ticket? Each one is a kind of a ticket. TIS, these are all the Jira tickets. They'll be maintaining all this information into their Scrum tool. That tool could be a Jira or Scrum Master or anything. For example, here, every team is using a different kinds of tools. You have to, ultimate thing is you have to adopt a one Scrum maintaining tool that would help to maintain of all this stuff. Okay. That
so what is Kanban, sir? Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
What is Kanban?
Kanban board is nothing but which is a place where you will maintaining what is happening in the entire development or entire process of making a software. Okay. For example, you have how many to-do list, how many is doing, who is doing what, as a simple 1 or 2 lines of information that you will be maintaining. It should be visible by everyone. A simple, you have to follow 3, as much as simple. For example, this is one: to do, doing, in review, or done. There are 4, right? Some people will maintaining only 3 columns. Okay, how many tasks are there, what they are doing, and how many it is done. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay, now let's talk about the continuous integration part. Okay, it is basically in this continuous integration, what we do is we do have some of the phases called source code management tool, build phases, and testing environment. Developers will be, there will be a lot of developers, right? It's not like a single person. There will be different teams. For example, microservice development teams, database inventory module team. These are the some of them development teams which they are responsible for developing a different features of an application. Okay, everyone will push the code, and what they need to do is take the source code and then compile it, build it, and then deploy it and do a testing it. This has to be, integrated. Each phase has to be integrated. Currently, not currently, I mean earlier, everything was be doing of or integrating of every phase manually. So you have to automate it. You have to integrate of these manual tasks by following one of the principle called continuous integration. What exactly continuous integration is? It is a development practice that requires developers to integrate their code into a central or shared repository several times a day by following one of the CI/CD tool. In our case, we'll use a Jenkins. What we do is we'll write a Jenkins pipeline. What does it happen is the Jenkins pipeline will take a code and then compile it, build the test cases, and run the test cases and deploy it. This will happen when you push or when you commit, when you do some event on a source code management tool. For example, whenever developer has pushed a code, automatically this integration process will be triggered. If you write a Jenkins pipeline, that is nothing but a continuous integration. Okay, now let's talk about continuous delivery and the deployment. Okay, continuous delivery is also one of the development discipline where the software can be released to a production at any time. Where the difference come into picture when it comes to delivery and the deployment, software can be deployed to the prod at any time. Here, prod at all the time, at any time and at all the time. What does it mean is, for example, you write a Jenkins pipeline or some other pipeline, Bitbucket pipeline or GitLab pipeline, anything, whatever you write, if you trigger manually, that will come as a delivery. That you need to trigger manually whenever you need it. That is called a delivery. Okay. Deployment at all the time means, for example, whenever you push any code, right, automatically the deployment should be happen every time. I mean, irrespective of time, whenever any new development has been, any feature has been merged with the development branch, what we do is automatically trigger this Jenkins pipeline that has to take and compile your source code, build it, run the test cases and deploy. This has to be done when you commit any of the source code, I mean any of the commits in the source code. That is not the deployment. Okay, and these are the some of the tools which was been some of the world. We don't worry about it. We don't, these are the some of the world tools. Now LoDa has been changed, but as a part of our course, what we do is we'll be learning a different tool. For example, if you take the configuration management, we'll learn about the Ansible. For the continuous integration, we'll learn about the Jenkins. For the microservice architecture, we'll taking either Docker or Kubernetes. We'll just understand it. For the collaboration purpose, they need Jira or a Slack. For monitoring Nagios or CloudWatch or something we're using. For the development purpose, of course, we don't use the development tools. Of course, we do use some basic text editors. Okay, and these are the some of the boundaries of a different principles of a DevOps. For example, for the continuous integration principle, these are the tools we'll be using. For the configuration management, these are the some of the tools. Okay, now let's talk about the different job opportunities where you can applying it. Okay, in a current market, the roles are diversified. It has been evaluated from, initially it was a DevOps engineer, then it is DevSecOps has come into picture. Next one is a SRE, cloud engineer, automation engineer, a release manager, release engineer, containerization specialist, platform engineer, cloud ops engineer, DevOps consultant, DevOps architect. These are the some of the roles which you can apply. But trust me, for example, if you're applying a DevOps tools, definitely it will be everything we are covering. For example, if you are if you are applying for containerization specialist, right, they'll expect you to understand these DevOps tools. On top of it, they'll expect your expertise in containerization tools. For example, Docker and Kubernetes or Mesos, some of these are containerization tools. These are called a specific tool requirement positions. As I told you, right, containerization specialists, they'll expect you along with the DevOps and some of the containerization tools called, Docker or Vagrant or anything. Similarly, for automation engineers, they'll expect you some writing a shell script or some of the build pipelines to automate their manual tasks. Based on this position, you can understand what kind of a roles, what kind of a task that you are going to get when you see a job description. Okay. And the best job sites nowadays, which I can think of it and which I can suggest is LinkedIn, a Glassdoor, sorry, it is represented twice, a Dice, which is international one, Indeed, AngelList, DevOps job boards, InstaHire, HiRace. These are the some of the these job searching sites is not focused only on the MNCs, also on the startup side also. Trust me, guys, if you got a chance to join a startup, right, please accept it, even though if it is not high much paid salary, please join it, because you will get a rock solid kind of skills in it, because there will be huge work, right? There'll be huge work. You need to participate in each role. Sometimes you join, for example, think like you join as a DevOps person. Sometimes you have to write a backend code also. Of course, they don't ask you, but you get a chance to understand how they write a backend code. But in case of an MNCs, right, no cross-functional team will be interacted in detail. Of course, only leads or respective authoritative will be interacting with other teams. As a small or as a starting career, as a DevOps person of fresher or experience, you won't get a much chance talk understanding about the backend, what is happening in the other side of a coin. Okay. But in case of a startup, you would definitely get a good exposure in it. Okay. Now let's talk about what you are going to get it. Okay. What we are going to talk in or what we are going to learn for our course. Okay. I think you got a DevOps course content. Um, if you are not, I think after this call, Sandeep or myself will be sharing this course content. You can understand. Okay. One thing is, what I can assure you is, in this course, first of all, I should say apologize, because I promised Sandeep and organizers saying that I don't use a PPT at all. I have to use the PPT because to understand, to summarize all these in a 1 hour, 1.5 hour session. So I can't do that. But in case of our learning, right? For example, if I am learning about a GitHub, I don't take any PPT. What I do is I'll open a PDF or the course content like this. For example, take a GitHub. I'll start talking about and writing architecture diagram, showing what is happening, how to create everything. Everything I'll be showing, not like PPT. I don't use it. This is what I can promise. Everything will be a practical. And while dealing or while talking about a particular topic, what we do is we will be talking about the interview point of also, because I have been interviewed a couple of guys, right? I know where to ask based on a resume about a particular topic. So based on that perspective, I'll be talking. No worries, because I'll be telling you the interview tips also while teaching any topic. Okay, this is another thing which I can promise. Another one is, in once each and every topic is completed, I'll give a small kind of an assignment. Sometimes I'll ask you to show me show the screen share, and then do in front of me. Because why? Because you have to get a fear, get out of a fear saying that some of the interviews, they'll ask you to write a code, or they'll ask you to share your screen and then start explaining. So you should be get out of that particular fear. And at the same time, you should get a hands-on. If you're coming and then listening and then going and watching a video, it won't help you. Trust me, guys, until and then you do practice. Just blindly follow what I'm doing. That's it. Don't, even if you are not able to understand, just do it. Then you will start thinking about why I'm doing this, what kind of an issues. Then you will get a complete hands on it. Okay, then only you can able to answer a questions in interview if someone asks. Okay, and one more thing is, I'll explain you at the end of the entire course. What I do is, I'll explain how I'll take a one real live example of an entire DevOps architecture and then show you that. At the same time, I'll ask you a small similar mini project kind of thing. I want build this DevOps this entire pipeline using these tools. I want this like this. So I'll ask you to write some of the Terraform script or automation or build configuration, build pipeline or deploy the application. So I'll take 2 to 3 people in a team. I'll divide the 2 to 3 people in a team and give you small subset of a project. And each individual team, you have to decide which part you have to take it. Okay, this is another giveaway which I can, take away, which I can give you guys at the end of the course, after completion of every topic. Okay, and this would be taking time between 40 to 45 hours, or sometimes 50. Trust me, guys, this 40 to 40 hours is only for me. For me means, if I'm joining a session, I'll take at least 1 hour or 1.5 hour time, and remaining you have to practice. If you guys, or if I and you, if we both have a sometimes, we will do a live session with you guys. Instead of I'm doing it, I'll ask you two guys and then share a screen, and then we will do it on your laptops. This is what we do. That is an extra time other than this 40 to 45 hours. Okay. And only the thing that you need to give us, you need to get a laptop with a minimum of 4 GB or 2 CPU RAMs, because we'll be going to learn about a Linux. All we do, everything we will do practice on the Linux Ubuntu machine. Okay. And we need some of the AWS account, which is a free. Of course, you need to give your debit card or something else. Well, that is only testing purpose, but we will be using a free tier usage resources only for our learning. Okay. In the first session, we will be talking about what exactly the DevOps, some of the history, what are the main principles of it, what is the difference between the DevOps and DevSecOps, what are the opportunities of the DevOps and DevSecOps, where exactly you can try than focusing on the random companies. This we'll be talking about. And the next one is, this is where practical will be coming into picture, saying that Linux, we will be understanding what are the different Linux OSs, what are the different flavors, and then we'll install the Ubuntu desktop server, desktop and server OS of Ubuntu. Then we'll do a practice of the basic Linux commands, which will help you to for other tools, especially the file operations, navigation commands, network debugging commands. Ultimately we'll install a sample, Java, Maven, some of the web server along with the one database. And then we will we'll try to run a sample Java application in our Linux. So at the end of this course, we'll be talking about the assignment. For example, I can ask you to give us some kind of, there is a server is installed. For example, I have installed one web server which is not running properly. How do you start debugging it? Where are the log locations? How do you deal with this? What we have learned at these points. Okay, so this is how we'll be dealing with the each and every topic. In our source code management tools, we'll talk about the GitHub. We'll be learning GitHub when it comes to the source code management tool. For the CI/CD, we'll talk about the Jenkins. Everything is a we will be installing and then showing you what we are doing. And this is a very less topic. 1 or 2 sessions would be enough, which is architecture management, which is being responsible for storing your builds, jars. Okay. Uh, at the same time, we'll be learning about the Terraform also. Terraform is for the infrastructure provisioning, especially we'll be dealing with some of the local operations and then provisioning infrastructure in AWS. Okay. Next one is configuration management tool. We'll learn the answer. Hey guys, I would like to request you, can you mute anyone? Manju. Hey, okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll talking about or we'll learn about the Docker, because this is a very basic containerization technology. Every DevOps interview or every company will be looking at from you. And at the same time, this is a AWS. We will be learning only the basic things what we required for the above parts. There are a lot of things in AWS, but as a part of the DevOps course, we'll be knowing the basic AWS resources we'll be using it. Okay. Yeah, these are the course content that we will be learning in a entire session. Okay. Now let's talk about, by the way, one more thing is I'm putting a, a feedback form for you guys. You have to fill this feedback form, which has been helpful for us to better, to give a better for you guys. I mean, if you are looking about the joining this course, what kind of you are doing, I mean, what you are expecting, that based on this response, we will be planning also. Okay. Yeah. Now let's time to talk for the Q&A. Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead if you have any questions. You can put questions on the chat also. That's enough. Hey, thanks, Sandeep, for sharing this course content. Yeah, I think Santosh, you are asking something in between. You please go ahead if you have. No, for this we don't cover Kubernetes, because if you see the course content, right, Swati, this is an exhausted course, and then this entire course will be focusing from an beginner to intermediate level. Okay, if you go to the advanced, then we may introduce the Kubernetes, and that is also taking a time till for the CI/CD we'll be dealing with the Docker alone, not a Kubernetes in this course.
Mostly this course will be DevOps only. I think where is the SecOps, like DevSecOps it's covered. Just you will mention like for introduction purpose, DevSecOps. But after the course contents like Jenkins and Docker or something, you have to mention. But where is the security feature we have to learn?
Okay. Okay, DevSecOps you have. Okay, you got DevSecOps course content, is it?
Yes. Just now you are telling about total DevOps, where we learn DevSecOps. Like I'm
Okay,
asking about.
let me find it. Can you share your screen and show me what is that you have been looking about it?
No, just now you're shared
Okay.
your
In the
information.
DevSecOps course, you will find a security part of it, the basic principles of the security, and the basic security tools in AWS and everything, right? You didn't see that or what?
Yeah, lastly you mentioned like VPC, EC2, IAM, and
That's it. That
the
is that the
cloud.
last one?
Yeah, that is the last one.
Okay, then you are looking at the wrong. I think there is a separate Sandeep has shared DevSecOps.
DevSecOps. Okay, in the chart, I think.
Right.
Okay, I have to check it once.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, me course, please. You have raised your hand. We can start. Yes, it's everything was in AWS only. We have been focusing AWS perspective only, because nowadays if you take a 10 openings of a DevOps, people would be asking you, especially into the AWS. Okay, 8 out of 10 will be asking you the AWS. But even if you see some of the JD, right, people would be asking either you should have a good exposure with AWS or Azure or GCP. These are they would be mentioning it, right? So in this course, we'll be focusing on AWS. Trust me, once if you learn AWS, it will be easy to learn other things also, but only the difference is a terminology would be difference. Here, we'll talking about the EC2 in AWS. There we'll have a compute engine. Something we'll talk like that. So even if you ask me, I've never, I mean, I have worked in Azure, but not like extensively like AWS. Because the entire 10 years of span of my time, I mostly worked in AWS, because it is easy to adopt as an AWS and very cheap in terms of billing to the management. That's why they would be using AWS is a top public cloud vendor. Okay, in case if we miss the class, then recording will be provided. Yes, Swati. Yeah, me codes has raised a hand. I don't know what exactly name. Me codes too, but you can start asking if you have any questions.
No, I'm done. I'm done. I was
Oh.
asking about now. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, any questions, guys? Okay, I'm
So earlier,
yeah, please.
another person was asking about DevSecOps.
Okay.
So I didn't. What I think what he was asking is that the introduction was wholly about DevOps,
Right.
but not much discussed about the security or DevSecOps.
Correct. This session is mainly meant for the DevOps, Santosh. If you want a DevSecOps also, we plan one session exclusively for the DevSecOps. You can feel to join that also. I think you
because
can.
if you learn DevSecOps means if you learn DevSecOps means you learn DevOps plus security feature. That's why I'm
Absolutely, that is the
asking.
main thing.
There is
Because
a
why?
two opportunities if you getting a good knowledge.
Right, exactly. So what you
The
will
main thing also, the DevSecOps is more popular. I don't know in India what happened, but in the United States, I observed the pay and everything because it is a new technology. Because right now the candidates are very less that particular field.
Absolutely. See this, I'm sharing my LinkedIn. Let's understand about what are the dev. Nowadays, everyone is talking about the DevSecOps.
Yeah, I don't know what about in India, but in US I saw so many.
Right. It didn't come to the popular as like in US or UK foreign, right? In India, it didn't become a popular, but still it started because currently my role is a senior DevSecOps engineer. Okay, that I'm working for one of the MNC company. Okay, so entire security aspects we do know, because if I'm working for an Indian company, people would be starting about the DevOps only. There would be a support of the security team, but in case of a DevSecOps person, they'll be targeting the security also, security aspects also. See here, the pay is also very high, and even if you see here, even if you see here, the pay and the role is also. One more thing is, guys, you can also apply for an SRE, but there is a small difference. But if you take any of the DevSecOps or DevOps is the main core aspect. Everything, I mean, every role is required. If you choose DevSecOps or SRE or platform engineer or CloudOps engineer, right?
Yeah, if you other than apply like DevOps, you have to learn just little bit knowledge. Suppose if you apply to the DevSecOps means you have idea about DevOps plus and security feature. That means DevOps is a main base for everything like SRE and everything.
Right. So here is the point, like, we will be telling about the SAST, DAST, which we have mentioned in our course curriculum of DevSecOps. In the chat, Sandeep has attached DevSecOps course, right? You can
Just now I saw. OWS.
OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. How do you deal with it? How do you integrate the security? infosec information, how do you automate that particular part, agile. If you see here, this is a live part of it. Okay, you'll understand of all these things if you take any of the things, right? DevSecOps. But trust me, guys, there is a huge demand. Not like I can't say huge demand. Yes, it is a demand nowadays because of this. Some of the restrictions from the western side or other side, a little bit slowness has happened. Once, trust me, once it is going to come into picture, right? I mean, once the restriction time has complete, not like
Yeah.
restriction, I could say, when the difficult time is completed, definitely trust me, there will be huge things will be coming into picture. So Sandeep, can you stop recording? Sandeep, are you there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, can you stop recording?
Okay.
And this course
Okay.
will be